Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's been a minute. It's probably been more than a minute. I think it's been about a year or so since I've done one of these scrutinizing Sundays. You know, I've been doing things that are growing the business, and this YouTube channel is one of those things that was cool and helpful for people, but it wasn't one of the things that was growing my business. And so I had to be disciplined and do it less. And so now I'm at a point where it's probably a little bit more relevant, and hopefully I can use that as an opportunity to share some wisdom with you guys, and we can all learn something, get better, get smarter, and all that. So I got a big set of show notes here to share with you guys. Had some coffee this morning, wrote down 3 pages of stuff that's worth talking about, and we're going to talk about it. So feel free to, of course, as always, comment if there's some kind of sound issue or you have a question, you have anything you'd like to know about Rapid Designs or any of the shenanigans that is going on over here. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it, folks. So 2025 was a year of telling more people that I exist, telling more people about your stuff. Generally speaking, for most people who might want to start a business, Hormozy has this great $100 million scaling roadmap. I 10 out of 10 recommend y'all go watch it. It can be consumed on his website. He also has like a PDF thing that works for you. But the important thing is that in the beginning of most businesses, you should start out with very, very basic stuff. So I think step 1 was like, get your thing that you're making in front of people and like try to get them to basically allow you to do business. So do something free. For example, if I want to start a business in the gym, or if I want to start a business making cotton candy, because I have experienced, like, let's say in my town, there's no good cotton caffeine. That would be a flavor. Cotton candy stands in my city. And I'm like, okay, there's a problem. I'm entrepreneurial and I want to solve it. Therefore, I need to start generating volume and business. I'm going to create a cotton candy stand, and then I'm going to make my cotton candy free, because the idea is you might not know what you're doing. Your product might suck and nobody knows about you. So remove the friction and get things going for free. Okay. Once that's done and you have some momentum, then it's like a little bit more about monetizing it. So it's like, okay, well, now I should charge something for my cotton candy. I don't know what to charge, but I could figure it out. So step 2, after people do this thing for free with you would want to monetize it. And the idea is, once you're monetized and like your thing is valuable enough and people trust that they can give you money and get the valuable thing, then you can move on to the next stage, which is you now have a monetizable service and not enough people know you exist. And so the third stage would be advertising. So learning how to get people to figure out you exist, and everything that comes with that. So 2025, very much for Rapid Designs, was all about that particular thing. I don't draw plans for free at this time. And I generate enough momentum, enough Google reviews and stuff like that to be able to make all this stuff happen. And so one of the things you can do in the advertising side when you have made progress is, while you're running your business, you could just pump for volume and go for that. I mean, Hormozy would argue only do one thing at a time. And so if advertising is your problem, put all of your energy into getting more business in the door. And once you have a problem, then solve the other problem. But until then, just only advertise. What I've been doing in 2025 and the beginning of 2026 was, once somebody would get in the door and as I would get jobs, I would figure out what are the jobs that are making this business the most money. And the reason that's important is because I want to make a lot of money and I want to provide the best service possible. And that's only doable if I can get a better and better mechanism for those people. So the idea in 2025 was, as work comes in, filter out some of the bad ones, find out like where are bad leads coming from, where are good leads coming from. And let's say you're running your cotton candy stand. and you figure out that if you put a sign out front that says, "We love blue cotton candy," and or if you love blue cotton candy, get some cotton candy, right? If you determine after selling cotton candy for a certain amount of time that you keep getting a certain type of customer that's like really annoying, and you decide to, I'm going to change the sign. I'm going to put up a sign that says, we love red cotton candy here. If you love red cotton candy, come get some. And you just figured out that on average, most of your customers are willing to pay more for the cotton candy and they're more pleasant to deal with, then you're not going to go back to the blue sign. And so that is the idea, is that while you're running the business, you're filtering for who are the best people to work with. And, not everybody's a great fit, and not every business should be catered to serve every single customer. The best businesses exist by knowing exactly who they serve and only serving those people. So that would be kind of the strategy for what we did. So I had hired a number of different people. And so in 2025, one of the lessons learned was, when you're looking for people, you shouldn't just like post a job to Indeed and be like, "Hey, I need these skills, come work for me." And then you hire them. It's like, there's a whole lot more like branding and vibe stuff that you need to like match. You need the person who's coming to your business to add to your business, and they need to be on board with your culture and everything you've got going on. And so hiring people is not as simple as just filling roles with bodies. We're going to talk about that later. But yes, that is kind of the thing there. And so this business hired another employee aside from myself if you had at a few different moments, a few different stages. And it's back to being just me. And the reason for that was multiple. But the most important reason was I didn't realize how much steady work was needed to both like build up a certain amount of cash so that when the work stops, you can keep paying somebody payroll. It's important to know, if you're going to have an employee, that they're expecting to get paid every payday. It's not the same as like being the owner of the business. And it's like, well, I made a lot this month and I made no money next month. Like people expect that consistency. And so for that consistency to exist, then you need the behavioral skills to hold on to money. And sometimes, guys, that means the owner needs to learn the behavioral skills of holding on to money. And surprise, surprise, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Those are some skills I'm working on. But that was 2025. Hired somebody on. It worked really well. There's an educational price to be paid every time you like do something and you make a mistake. It's like, well, I can learn from this. I don't see anything as wasted money or effort. It's all about learning through the process. And I happen to have picked a very, very awesome person, and we were able to make something work, and they ended up being able to buy a car with some of the money they got paid. I also learned that like you can overpay, sort of. You can overpay an employee, and we're going to go through some details on like what that means and why it might be overpayment and why it might not be. But yeah, that's a trick. Real quick though, we got Mr. Wyatt MG in the chat. Hey, what's up, Wyatt? It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've seen you in a chat, because it's been a minute since I've done a live stream. You and me both, buddy. The money part is 90% of the battle. Yeah, and for most people, it probably is. You are absolutely correct. That's a skill, and it's true at every level. Like we're all humans, and so if we go from making $10 an hour one day, and now we're able to make $1,000 an hour another day, all of the decision making for the stuff that we're buying, like our perspective just changes with the amount of the money. It's like buying $1,000 boat is still 1 hour of my life sacrificed doing work if I'm making $1,000 an hour. I just changed the number, but whatever. The point is the same. So the idea is that if you want to be somebody who can control that money in a better way, then you have to learn the behaviors at any level. Like if you're making $1 million a year already, it's going to be a lot easier to like fix stuff. But if you make $1 million a year and spend $1 million a year, then you're going to have $0 million a year at the end of it by the next year. And it's like, well, that's not how we build wealth. So got to fix those things. And it also means like you would have zero money left over to have a slush fund for hiring employees so that you can replace yourself and all these cool things. So yeah, that's part of the process. We're all normal human beings for doing that. But yeah, it was relatively too soon to hire an employee for what I was doing. Most of it was just like, honestly, probably laziness of like, well, I know I have to solve these problems and I just don't want to do the work it takes and put in the hours that it takes to get it done. And the funny part is like, when you do this for a year and you go back and look at like how much money the company made and you're like, where did all that money go? If I had just not spent that money, I would have this massive pool of cash as a safety net. And I could hire somebody right now and not have to do my job. Well, I could still do a different job, maybe train them or something, but I could do less work and still make the same amount of money minus whatever I'm going to pay them. And it's just like, it's kind of funny. And so what you have to think about is like, well, what are all of the micro decisions I made that went into that money leaving my bank account, right? So yeah, so some things are changing as we're always learning, we're always growing. Looks like Wyatt here says, I'm pretty sure I didn't tell you I'm going full HVAC. Won't be doing the sheds by next year. Money way better. Excellent. This is excellent news. One of the cool things that happens, as Mr. Wyatt is explaining here, is when you're in business and you're solving problems, you will always be able to find like little niche places where there's an edge, you know, and everybody has different kinds of leverage in different places. For me, drafting is just the thing that combines everything into one high leverage solution. For Wyatt, it could be HVAC related stuff. And, you know, the smart thing to do generally is once you find that high leverage move, you make it and you stop doing all of the other things that are not high leverage. The second thing to do after you've done that is the difficult thing, is to like stop, like when the next thing comes along that seems like a different opportunity vehicle that's higher leverage, you can take it, but just be aware of like the strategy move you're making. For myself, I made a video, I think about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years back at some point. I had seen a Hormozy video on like, hey, do you want a service business or do you want an educational business? If you are going to teach people how to do something, it's one type of customer. If you're going to provide them the service, it's a different type of customer. And so you can do one or the other. What most people do is they go into service, they start solving the problem for people. It gets big and complicated and messy, and they have lots of employees, and it becomes stressful. And then they figure out like, oh, I've got these, like there's these other people that trickle in that are like, oh, when you just teach me how to do it, I'll give you like $20,000 and, you know, give me a day and teach me how to do it and we'll be done. And they're like, oh, I could make $20,000 in a day and not have all this other employee headache stuff. And it's like, well, that seems, it is a higher leverage vehicle, but you have to understand that you've built a business on acquiring a particular type of customer, which means you have a sales funnel. You probably have setting scripts. You know who you're talking to. You have all of these things figured out and you've spent years figuring them out. And I can guarantee you that like, if you just changed the business to acquiring the $20,000 customer, you have to start all that over again. Like you happen to be able to attract a few, which is cool. That always happens. But it's like you can start over with a higher leverage vehicle, and that's fine as long as you understand that you are starting over. But, you know, I think everybody should just do what they want. I happen to have lots of time ahead of me in my life, assuming I don't die, which is not guaranteed. But I would like to build a very big service business that provides a long-term solution for a lot of people, that can give opportunities to employees and training. And, you know, I want a big Chick-fil-A style, you know, drafting business, whatever that might mean. But first I got to solve my money. Anyway, and so because of that, I'm not interested in teaching people how to run a drafting business. I'm interested in just running the drafting business. So what does that mean? Well, that means I'm going to spend a lot of time in the computer drawing lines, and there's some give and take with that. But, you know, recognize where you're at, solve the problem. Don't get your ego involved. That's another lesson. Ego creeps in very quickly. And there's nothing wrong with ego. Like there's nothing wrong with knowing you're awesome at what you're doing. Just be aware that other people can be turned off by an unnecessary ego. And what's the, oh man, I don't remember the words, but like basically being someone who's always willing to learn and hear out somebody else and never be like, oh, I know what he's talking about already. So like, you can just shut up, stop talking, just tell me the next thing. I already know that. It's like, don't ever do that because someone's already doing you a favor by giving you free advice on something that's useful. I have particularly enjoyed along this way. I've met lots of different business owners in the building industry, and I enjoy talking business strategy with them. I'm like, well, where are you headed? What's the problem you're solving? And that back and forth is really, really useful. I even had some excellent breakfast with Mr. Wyatt MG in the chat here when I was down in California. And he was a very, very good friend to talk about these things with. He is getting a lot of cool stuff done, Mr. Wyatt MG is. So y'all should follow him. Put your IG handle or something in the chat so people know where to find you. Whoever ends up watching this, they can learn from you as well because you're a smart man. So 2025 hiring, learn when not to hire. Yeah. So don't hire an employee when you basically don't have a whole bunch of cash to afford income drying up and continuing to pay them. That's the basic lesson. Now, my employee always got paid, but boy, howdy, I didn't make all of the best decisions along the way for how to make that happen, and took some leverage in some different places. And so 2026 for me is all about, I have to do all this work myself. I have to grind through all of this and also learn the behaviors of not spending the money that I'm earning, and of course paying off the debt that I have accrued to get to this point. So I've been able to move faster to get to this point, but like if I were to correct all that in 2026, then when 2027 rolls around, I am very much de-risked personally, which means my business can take more risk, have more employees, spend more on advertising, blah, 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 right? And that's all part of the growth. So I want to grow nice and lean, and I also want to grow very healthy. And when the world throws things at the industry, whether it's like a market crash or whatever, things will work out. That's the idea. So that requires managing risk between your personal life and your business life. But one of the lessons for me regarding the hiring was I had read a book, and these are like the micro lessons you have to really figure out about yourself because everybody learns things differently. But I had read a book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Great book, super accurate and true, but I had essentially removed the nuance from the book and been like, oh, I should buy back my time because I do this thing. And it's like, the reality was I was confused with what my time was worth. Because I had been running a business making a certain hourly rate consistently. And I'm like, oh, well, that's just what my time is worth. And no, that is actually not what my time is worth, because there's a lot of other things that go into it. Like across the year, if you make this much money, first of all, taxes is going to come out of that. You got sales tax, and then you've got income tax and self-employment tax and all these things, right? And then you have all of the tax of operating the business, which means your software, whatever you're buying for the business, computers wear out. Like I had to replace a hard drive and, all kinds of stuff wears out. And then like you take all that stuff out, and then there's some number left over that is for the business owner. That number divided by all the time you put in that year, that's the real hourly rate that you're allowed to replace with. And the general consensus is if you can pay somebody a quarter of what that hourly rate is, and they can do like an 80% job, then you should hire them and do that. Because the business itself can get the same work accomplished with a less expensive employee. That is definitely the thing. And along with the whole less expensive employee thing is understanding that you need to be more sociopathic with your business. I had a friend tell me that he's like, listen, you can get emotionally connected. Like it's good to be emotionally connected to your employees, right? They're human beings. But at the same time, you have to be careful with doing that, because the reality is that your business is an organism on its own. It doesn't care who's working for it. It just cares that the problem is being solved, money is being generated, and people are getting paid, and it produces a profit. That's what the business organism needs to live. And if you're making emotionally charged decisions on who to work for or who to work, like who should the business hire, then it's like, well, you can do that, but is that the most profit the business could have made? And of course, there's a balance there. Like, there's an argument to be made for, like, I would rather have somebody on my team who's a culture fit, that I vibe with better, who's more expensive, because I understand long term that person is going to generate the business more money, because they're going to relate to my customers better. They're going to relate to me better. Our communication is going to be better. The consistency across the business experience as a service is going to be better. And so you don't just want to throw bodies in there for the cheapest rate. Like, you don't want to go to McDonald's and like be like, hey, you should come draft plans because you're only $10 an hour or whatever the number is, right? You don't want to do that necessarily. There's a give and take. But yeah, it's good to not forget to be sociopathic, because the reality is that if you do that long enough with the wrong people, eventually you're going to fail, and then everybody's upset. And we don't want to make people upset. That's so bad. Nobody needs to be upset. Life's supposed to be happy. Perfect. So yeah, learning to manage money. There's a bunch of great books about this. A very basic one would be Profit First, of course, Mike Michalowicz. The idea that money comes into your business and then it's immediately funneled towards where it needs to go. You're left over with some amount of money that you use to like buy stuff. It's like, oh, how do I know if the business has enough to afford a new drill? Well, is that money in the account that's dedicated for buying new stuff? It would be a shame to buy a new drill and then find out you don't have enough money to pay payroll. Employees wouldn't like that. Same true for vehicles, vans, whatever you want to name it, right? So yeah, learning to manage money in general. And if you want to learn how to manage money really well, my mother actually wrote a book and is a coach, a financial coach in this field. And so I have never had a shortage of advice on how to do this. Doesn't mean I do it properly, because I'm not perfect, but the advice is always there, which is nice. I think the book is called 10. I'm going to spill the water bottle on my laptop here. Let's see. 10 Best Tax Tips for the Indie Contractor. Christine Sale. Let's see. 10 best tax tip for the self-employed. Yeah, I'm going to, that's a podcast. I'm going to find a link. You know what? What I'm going to do, Proverbs 16:16 is her website. I'm going to post a link to that in the chat. Here we go. All right, copy, paste. Let's see if that works. So that's where you should go if you want to learn from her. She has this book. It's super great. Like, if you're just starting a business and you want to not get yourself in trouble with the IRS, that is the book to learn. And I would consider myself still young in the starting a business thing. It's like, well, I have a business. It's been running now for about 1.5 years, 2 years, functionally and growing. And so now it's like, well, I should probably do the things that are in this book, else that I continue creating problems for myself. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. We're going to talk a little bit less about business and a little bit more about some like psychological life stuff as well, because those are all lessons. They're all part of the same thing, which is that if your squishy gray matter in your brain is not operating at its highest capacity, you're going to have a hard time running a business, because the world sucks and people want to take your girl and take your money all the time. And so you got to be ready. So what are some of those lessons? We're just going to go through them real quick here. So you can change who you are, but it might take time. that is a common thing people don't believe. There's the whole like, oh, just be yourself. Like you're just a person. You're just like this one pre-baked kind of person. And what most people think when they're saying that is, I'm comfortable with who I thought you were, and I don't want you to change because then I have to refigure you out and I have to decide if you're somebody I want in my life. And I may not like the ideas that you are now thinking, and that's, people don't like to hear that necessarily. So, yeah, but the most important thing is that you do what you want because you're like you're going to die eventually at some point and people are going to be sad for a few weeks and then everyone's going to move on. And so at the end of the day, like, I'm not saying go out and like blow up a hospital or something, but like, ultimately, like you're the one in charge of making your life the best that it can be. And that oftentimes means making everybody else's lives around you better because then they'll like you more and then your life will be better. And then it's all this confidence happens and it's all great. So yeah, that's one thing. Um, but it might take time. And the reason it takes time is because you are the function of, like, imagine the whole like happiness hypothesis, Jonathan Haidt book. Like imagine there's a driver of an elephant on top of an elephant. You consist of both the driver and the elephant. However, most of the time what's happening is the elephant makes most of the decisions and the driver rationalizes all the decisions the elephant is making. Occasionally the driver can steer the elephant in a direction, but like at the end of the day, the elephant's like, oh, I'm going to go to that watering hole because I'm thirsty, or like, oh, what a sexy, fine young female elephant we got over there. Let's go say hi. So like, that's the idea. And so you have to convince your elephant over a very long period of time to become someone different. And that's why it makes it so difficult. Because all of the decision-making and like rationalizations and stuff that you believe largely comes from something happened, an action was taken, and there was a good result or there was a bad result. And your psyche is largely formed from those things being either, positive experiences or negative experiences. Let's say you're riding a bicycle and you fall and skin your knee, right? If you do that enough times, then your psyche is going to eventually be like, riding bikes is bad, and it both works internally and externally. If like your society around you is telling you a consistent theme over and over and over and over, that's going to train a reaction that's like, oh, when I believe this particular concept and everybody in my social circle disagrees with me and removes attention or like removes interaction with me, it feels like an internal death. Therefore, I'm not going to believe that thing. I'm going to believe this other thing over here. And so if you want to change who you are, you have to be able to undo all of that over a long period of time, which just takes more action. Good result, bad result. And you can use both. You can use the carrot and the stick. Nothing wrong with either one, but just understand what you're doing. I would recommend that you spend more time though thinking about like who you want to be compared to like, why am I the way that I am? It's like one of those things matters a whole lot less. And one of them is actionable, basically. It's like, well, I could sit here and think about why I have a preference for riding a mountain bike. Don't know. Or I could think, oh, when I go ride my mountain bike, I feel really good. I have high energy levels. I'm challenged. It allows me to like meditate in a way and this, that, and the other. And so I'm just going to do that thing because I like it or whatever. So that's pretty much it. So somebody mentioned an alcohol example one time. Actually, I think it was Hormozy. I listen to Hormozy still frequently. And he was talking about how he used to, after a long, hard day of work, he would like to drink, and, not get drunk, but like have some alcohol. And his takeaway from that lesson was he enjoyed, like, his true relaxation state was the alcohol state, not the I've done a lot of work state. And so what he had to essentially convince his brain, and you could do this by just like removing yourself from your phone or social media or alcohol or whatever the thing is that you're going after. And you make the the new reward state is better than the alcohol state. I'm not saying people shouldn't drink alcohol. I'm just using this as an example. But if you want to train yourself to be different, then you have to have a different reward mechanism. I would say for myself, recently I have a good friend who mentioned that, he's not on his phone a lot, off of social media. Like, this is a very common thing. We all know that we shouldn't be consuming social media. It's okay to produce and like provide value, but like sitting there scrolling the explore page is just not great for your psyche. It's not good for your dopamine, all that stuff. And so one of the things I've been doing recently is this, in this little cubby in this new apartment, I've got my phone, and the phone stays in this space. I'm not allowed to like take it into the rest of my apartment. And it forces me to, if I want to do something on the phone, I have to be sitting here at my workstation. And otherwise I'm out there doing my own thing. And it's really helpful for the rest of my apartment feeling like, oh, this is just now. Like, I'm living in this moment. I'm here in College Station. The weather is this outside. And, my cats are here being cute. And I have a TV. Maybe I could watch a movie, or just live in the space that I'm in, and that's really good for your health, I'm sure. But the idea is that I need to make the experience better than the alternative that I was doing. Part of that comes from long-term decision-making versus short-term decision-making, which is like learning to make delayed gratification decisions is hard because the gratification is delayed, right? A lot of our behavior comes from that loop of took an action, I got a reward. I took an action, I got a reward. I took an action, oops, I got a punishment. Better not do that again. Took an action, got a reward, right? And so the longer that reward is delayed from when you took the action, the more difficult it is, because like you have a hard time relating that, like associating that reward to the action you took. But in general, if you start making longer term plays, everything just goes up and to the right. Everything gets better. Examples of long-term plays, business relationships. You control your emotions. You provide value. You provide the service no matter what. Like you give. You just try to make everybody in your business network more money. You try to give them better service all the time. You like invite them on podcasts or whatever. You just try to create more. That's an example of business. Let's say relationships, some dating advice here from Sam, the business owner. Like if you have, what was I just talking about? I was talking about giving more than asking. Wow. Delayed gratification being difficult to learn. So same thing with relationships or dating. Like, let's say you're a single dude and you have a hard time dating, or you have like options, like you meet new people and you're like, oh, then like she's into me and then she's not into me or whatever. Like I make the particular play that all new girls I meet go into the friend zone because I don't know who they are and I don't know what their goals are. And like, why would I want to date somebody who's like not super impressive to me? And the only way that I'm going to figure out if they're super impressive is if I know them for a long time. And so how about instead of jumping into a relationship, I just let them, we can get to know each other for a long time and then I could consider it. But in the meantime, if you go about trying to, like I made a post on Instagram the other day, on it this morning, of like, shout out to the guys who help their female friends find love, right? It's kind of a joke, but also kind of not. If you're going around and you're making other people's lives better genuinely because you want to make their lives better, and you happen to know that if you make lots of people's lives better all around you, your life's going to end up being better. So it's like, is it selfish? Is it not? Who cares? The end result is that everybody's lives are better. So it doesn't really matter what the motivations are. But like, you offer value and do cool stuff. People are going to want to be around you. People are going to want to spend time with you and learn from you. And, that's going to translate to more options, a better network. Lots of human beings are network animals. The status you have and the options you have, the perception of your life being awesome is like mostly a function of how many people do you know and how many people like you. and like you meaning want to associate with you, be around you, give you things, do business with you, whatever it might be, right? So you got to optimize all those little things. But yeah, so the long-term gratification thing, good idea. The more you try to take, generally, the less of a long-term strategy it is. Let's say you meet a girl on a bar, like out at a social event or whatever, right? And she's like, let's say, clearly into you. You have some options in terms of like, well, do I, take this girl back to my apartment and like study the Bible with her? Or do I just say, hey, good to meet you, get your Instagram, get her in the funnel, whatever, and then go about your day? Like arguably one of those things is less of a take and a little bit more of a give. Like Michael Sartain from Men of Action would generally say, like, friend zone all the girls, put them in your funnel, and then invite them to lots of cool stuff. Like you can't lose by giving people cool stuff, like access to cool events and whatever, it may be. But that's enough dating advice from Sam for one day, maybe for the year. So we'll talk a little bit about Speed of Trust. I read this book, Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey, I believe. And the general idea is that you will accomplish more for longer as a long-term strategy with trust than you will any other strategy. He says there's a cost. There's a price to not having trust. There's a particular business that I work with as one of my customers that I don't really trust. And it's not that, like, when I say don't trust, it's not that like, oh, I think they're going to rob me, or I like, they're bad people. It's just like, it's not about that. It's like, I don't trust that they're going to communicate something to me well. I don't trust that they're going to, basically do their service well. I don't trust that they're going to be around for a long time. I don't see good things coming from like the customer interaction I see them having with their customers. And so all of those things feed into wasted money and time, basically, because if there's something that's not operating well from their end and that's now affecting my business, then my business is losing money. And so, the short solution is just have lots of customers and have lots of options, because people are going to be, learning. And I think in that particular case, like, there's no malintent. It's just like, oh, there's just someone who's trying to run a business with money more than trust, I guess. On the subject of these trust things, it's good. Like, one of the takeaways from that book was that you don't want to compromise yourself to like earn someone's trust, if that makes sense. You would be better off, you'd be better served by always going for your own goals and then just being clear that that's what you're going for. Because the reality is that most people are happy to do, like, let's say I am very expensive, right? But somebody figures out that I'm very expensive and I'm going to give them the best possible service that they could get anywhere, which means their business is going to do better. Their customer experience is going to get better. They're going to build faster, and they're going to make 3 times as much money. That's the cool thing about business, is I can be expensive and still make them more money. What's that called? It's called a win-win. We want win-wins for both parties. And one of the things that Stephen talks about in this book is that if you don't have a win-win, then you walk away. You don't just turn it into a win-lose. It's like win-win or no deal. And what does it take to be able to say no deal? Is it takes an abundance of opportunities. It takes both sides being willing to walk away. Well, in reality, it just takes one side being willing to walk away. And there have been times when I'm trying to make a win-win happen, and it's clear to me that it's just not going to happen. And so, but the other person is not like on board with the win-win idea. They're like, no, I want this thing to happen and I want it to happen my way. And then when you say, oh, that's cool. It's not a good fit. Like, let's just part ways. They get upset because it's like, no, I want this thing to happen. And it's like, well, what do you want? You know, sorry. So like that's going to happen. It's going to come around. And those people are just probably better off not being in your circle anyway. So yeah, we like to filter out people for win-winners. Surround yourself with winners. Surround yourself with people who also want you to win. That's a good way to not lose. So that's kind of like the trust thing, is someone can trust you more if they know that like that you're honest. And so, and if you say like, hey, listen, no, like I want to make a bunch of money. This is the money I'm going to make off of this deal. And this is good for me. And this is good for you. Then it's like, you're building trust out of the gate, because it's like, oh, like you don't have to wonder what they're getting out of it. It's like, no, they're just getting money. Like they're getting whatever the thing is they're getting. And it doesn't just have to apply to business. It can apply to, you know, personal relationships too. But boy, howdy, it's very powerful to be brutally honest. Like not all the time, obviously use tact, but people are more likely to understand their own human nature and also understand that you have the same human nature. And everybody who's like tiptoeing and dancing around that, pretending not to have the same desires or like goals or money or whatever the heck thing is you're pursuing, all the people that pretend that's not what they're going for, those are the people that it's hard to trust, because you're like, oh, well, you do have an alternative motive, because like we all do. So yeah, go about making win-wins and, you know, be honest with people generally. Quick thing about the abundance mentality. It's one thing to say, hey, go have an abundance mentality. It's like, well, great. What does that mean? What the heck am I supposed to do with that? Well, the answer is you get confident. It's like, okay, great. Confident. How do I do that? Just be confident. I'm feeling confident now. This is great. No. Well, yes, but you can't just feel confident. Feeling confidence. Confidence comes from reps. And so if you don't feel confident, like this is why you start a business doing stuff for free, is because you need reps. You need to prove to other people and yourself that you are good at what you're doing. And so do more reps. You know, if you're riding a bike, do more laps, get more confident, you know, in whatever the thing is that you're doing. And that those reps will build confidence, which will build that abundance mentality of options. Because it's like, oh, I've realized that if I pay this much for ads, say in a business sense, if I pay this much for ads, I'll get this many leads. This many will be the perfect customer for me. And if I tell them these words, they're probably going to give me money. And if you do that enough times, then it's like, oh, cool, I know how to run a business. And then it's like, then when anything that's not that comes in the door that is more unhealthy for your business, or it's less leverage, or it's just not a good opportunity, you're not a good person you want dealing with to deal with, then you can let them go and you're okay. And I will say, people who have scarcity mentalities don't like bumping into people who have an abundance mentality, because it shows them how ugly their personality is. Basically, it's like, oh, you want to blame everything else and you have no control over your circumstances and you have no options. Sucks. I've got options. Do better. Do better. I'm here for you if you want to do better, but it's going to cost you. So yeah, so learn to be okay with people who are uncomfortable. Basically, that's a good one. There's a great book I came across called Frame. I highly recommend everybody read it. It's written by Ryan Stone, and it talks a lot about how everything you do needs to be in line with what you're trying to get, like what your plan is. And everything that's not part of that plan just like doesn't have to matter. And you don't have to care if other people are upset that they don't matter. That's just like a really, really good thing to have. And like a strong frame is a very respectable thing. If you're in business with somebody else and you're like, oh, well, I want to do this and charge this. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I can get this other thing over here. So I'm just not going to do that. It's like, oh, okay, well, now I'm calibrated to like the market decision. I'm going to recalibrate and adjust. I'll do this for this instead. and we could make this happen. It's like, oh, okay, now it's a win-win again, you know? And so you want everybody to have their own solid frame of what they're after and what works. Because that's how you just get the best combination of everybody running around solving problems really efficiently and making our market what it is. So, along with the whole abundance thing, having a strong frame around people who are not used to somebody having a strong frame can be upsetting, because like they don't have the ability to control your thoughts with their own framing. Little secret, like common thing around women in my experience is not accepting the premises of pretty much any of their questions in like a dating context has not done me poorly. So let that be noted for whatever you want to do with that information. But know what you want and go after it. Yes. So there's many ways to run businesses. Businesses are these organisms that, put tools and maybe AI and human beings and all these minds together into this thing that solves a problem with certain systems in place. You can create those systems with money, be like, hey, you know what? Nobody has a cotton candy cart that also sells cocaine. That's an industry problem that needs solving. Let's solve that industry problem. And you're at a dinner with billionaires and they're just like, you know what? Yeah, that needs to be solved. Let's presume that cocaine is perfectly legal and there's no red tape to get past to sell this particular product. You can either create the business because you have a personal relationship with the difficulty of trying to buy your cocaine and cotton candy at the same time, and you can relate very strongly to that pain. And so you decide to lead the charge into this world and solve this problem. Wow, that made my hand look really yellow. What an interesting white balance. Or you can throw a bunch of money and people at the problem and say, okay, well, what does a business that solves this problem have as infrastructure? Well, they have computers. They might have an office. They might have an office manager. They might have a few AI things going on. They are going to have a CEO. Wow, I got to take my hand down. I look sick. They're going to have a CEO. They're going to have some employees that answer the phone. You'll have customer service, So they fill a bunch of roles with people and they say, hey, here's the problem we're solving. And here's the thing we're doing. Ready, set, go. I'm going to make the argument that that's a terrible way to run a business because nobody's on the same page. They're all just there because they think they're doing a job at solving a problem, but there's no culture. There's no leader at the front of the army who's everyone's following their passion, whatever, it's there's no spear on the head of there's no spearhead on the head of the spear. It's just a stick. Somebody built the stick and they're throwing it straight at solving a problem. So we're getting a storm rolling in. Praise. Love storms. So have a spearhead on the tip of your spear. Speaking of spears, I watched Avatar again last night, the Blue People movie. That was a classic. Good old Pocahontas for you guys with bigger guns. So using the money create a business versus grind up. So I recommend all business owners out there. If you're probably watching this, you're probably not a super corporate, super boss guy. But I can see the difference personally, anecdotally, in the businesses that I work with. The more of them that exist with the core being somebody has found a problem super unique and they're the one to solve it and they're leading this charge. That's a very different business culture than oh yeah, we're going to build a building, put a bunch of people in it, hire, and you could go to Indeed, make a job posting, get these people in and all this stuff. And it tends to be chaotic. And it happens to be the same business that I don't communicate. I have a hard time communicating well with them. And there's just a little bit more chaos, flying around from that side. And what does that end up meaning? Well, it means I have to charge them more money because I do more work because things change Things aren't communicated. Nobody does, like, energy has to be expended just to catch up with what happened. Like, that's not efficient. Taking my brain power costs you guys money, so don't do that. Anyway, so that's something we came across. It's also fascinating. One of the cool things that happens when you stay in a business for a long time is you learn all the nuances, not only about your business and your life cycle, but you learn about the life cycles of all your customers. I'm a draftsman. I draw plans for people that have already figured out what they need. They just need something drafted and they want it drafted fast. That's all I do. And that means that some people, like, if they come to me and they're like, well, I want a 3-bed, 3-bath on this house, on this lot, and I don't really know what I want it to look like on the outside. It's like, well, good luck. I'm not your guy. I'll say this. You don't want me to be your guy, because the amount of mental energy I have to expend to get you past that point will make me cost prohibitive compared to like what all the, like, you'd find other people that are better at that than me, and they'll be less expensive. So you're better off doing something else. So because the builder is my customer, I am learning a lot more about, like, I'm observing constantly the life cycle of the home builder, right? It's like this person who's like, well, I'm into construction. I've had some experience. I'm going to start building houses. And because my ideal customer is someone who's like kind of new to, I don't know, maybe 30 houses a year. Like, when you have that many houses a year, you start to stack on more employees. That's where the communication can dissolve very quickly. But I have personally found, hold on a second. Oh, that's so weird. There's a bathroom in this door and the toilet is gurgling. So for all those guys in construction out there, can you tell me why my toilet is gurgling? I'm on the bottom floor of an apartment complex. I'm assuming there's a venting problem, or maybe Wyatt knows if he's still in here. Something happening. In San Antonio, side note, I had a house, and in San Antonio, the soils are terrible and construction's also terrible. And so, including infrastructure, streets, drainage, sewers, water. And so regularly the sewer under the street would get clogged, and they would have to like vacuum blow it out or whatever they do. And whenever they would do that, they would also suck all the water out of the P traps, and or blow sewer gas up into the house. And so it'd make the entire block, like, houses like would stink. It was this whole, and it happened like once a month. It was awful. Yeah, so that wasn't fun. So, Wyatt says it's storming here in California as well. That's so good. Storms aren't great for construction, but they are great for like sipping a coffee or an espresso on the patio with your cats. So that's the way it is. Wyatt says it's a clog. So there's a sewer clog. You'll see a guy with a snake within the next hour or so, unless venting is really that bad. They always gurgle when they clog. I'm assuming you're referring to like a common shared plumbing system where like my unit's toilet is connected to somebody else's toilet, and they're using the same drainage system, which I assume they would. They don't meter your they don't meter your apartment bill by like how many times you poop. No, that would be entertaining. They have like a little like paddle that like flips through and counts up. And Will says, Will from the DJ Roundtable, hey brother Will, good to see you. Will's an awesome man. He's in the tower industry. I think he's up in, I want to say, New Jersey or Pennsylvania, up there somewhere on the East Coast, doing awesome things, spending time with awesome people, and getting back into the tower work. He's a man who's been confronted with some of life's realities of how things can change, and he doesn't stop charging forward. He goes out and he continues solving problems, and I'm proud to have him be my brother. So thanks, Will, for coming on here and commenting, though I'm not sure what the comment was. I think you were answering my, like, why is the toilet bubbling? I think that's what you're answering. Wyatt says the whole building is probably on one main that goes to the street. Gotcha. That would make sense. And then Will says, yeah, back to towers. P-traps, less cool than towers. I would agree. P-trap, they're also less expensive than towers. They're less in many ways. They're less mass. They're less size, less volume. Yeah, it's good. Good. Thank you for the comment. Cool. Yeah, Will's back to towers. So if y'all want to see really awesome, cool tower stuff, then follow him at will.stevenson. I think .iii is his Instagram handle. My stream is streaming in the other tab, but I could probably open this up here. And either he's going to type his handle or a link first. Don't know if he can post a link, but I can find it here real quick because we're good friends on Instagram, my brother and I. I'm just learning how to type and talk at the same time. Also, let me know what y'all think of the intro and outro music because I forgot to shout them out. But the Highway 6 band, local band here to the Central Texas area, I saw them. I met them at a bar, and they are local live music people, and they shared their copyrighted music with me for the purposes of being able to produce on this YouTube channel. And they were very generous about it. They were super great at communicating, get it all sorted. So shout out to them for making awesome music. Y'all should check out their music, the Highway 6 band. And I'm going to drop there's Will's link right there. Well, I'm dropping it again, so you both get it. And then while I'm talking about the Highway 6 band, I'm going to go ahead and find them on my Instagram. There it is, the Highway 6 band. Copy the link, paste it right here. So yeah, that's where you can find them and their cool music and stuff. You can download on Spotify, Apple Music. It's all on there. But if you hear the intro outro music, that's what it is. I'm going to remove this comment because that's a thing that I should do. Okay. So yeah, you do a thing long enough, you stay in a business long enough, you get high leverage in that business. You know where the problems are, you know who to be talking to. You learn the life cycle of the projects, the life cycle of your customers. And it's like, oh, I figured out that most people are my customer between when they build 3 houses a year and when they build 30 houses a year. What does that mean? Well, they're either going to grow their business to the point where they are no longer going to be my customer, or they're going to keep that limit down and stay my customer for longer, or they're going to get tired of building houses, because most people get tired of things and then change what they're doing most of the time. So there is a real life cycle to the customer. And once you know that, it's actually pretty cool. Because if you can figure out an average customer will net for me yearly, let's just say $20,000. And if you figure that out, and then you can do cool math I know that if I run an ad, if I spend $1,000 on running an ad, I get 5 good leads, and one of those people I can turn into my customer for the next 5 years or whatever. And they're adding $20,000 to the business income yearly. Well, after a certain amount of time, once your business is systematized well and it becomes a true asset that somebody else could buy, then what you can do is you can triple if it's a service business like what I have, then you can actually triple the asset value of the business. So I may add $20,000 to the business revenue yearly, but I've added $60,000 to my portfolio asset value, being the single owner of the business. Therefore, I can do cool tax tricks in the future and basically take loans against my asset value that is this theoretical wealthy thing, and just not have to have a high income and stuff like that. So we'll see if that all works. I got to do a lot of things to get there. But yeah, so stay in one thing for a long period of time, because you're just going to get better at it. And nobody wants to start over with redoing all the leverage. It already takes enough work to get to the point where you're excellent at something. 10,000 hours let's just say you do a job, it's 40 hours a week. How many years does it take to become 10,000 hour expert at your job? Hopefully I didn't just disconnect my mic. I just bumped the cable. 10,000 hours divided by 2,000 hours a year. Well, that's hard math. I'll need a calculator for that one. That's 5 years. 5 years of holy moly. Holy moly olies. Will says, just start over. Don't be a pussy. That's right. Be a man. I do enjoy the be a man memes that are thrown around on Instagram frequently. They're quite hilarious. Mostly because I'm a man and I like to be a man. But let's move on real quick here. Page one is through. Let's kind of pick up this pace a little bit, see if we can get the lessons out of this for you guys with a little less of the talking on my end. So Oh yeah, phases of life, motivation, and outside pain. You're gonna probably do like most of the things that you're gonna do in life based on your own level of motivation for them, and that's not necessarily something you can just control because you choose to control it. As a perfect example, I have gotten to a point in this business where I can just like stop doing a lot of stuff, take my hands off, let things run, let the work come in, do the work, and then chill and have a lot of extra time in my week to just sit and exist, pet my cats, drink coffee on the patio. All those things are cool things. However, recently I've come across some more information in my life. Like some people wonder, like, why am I not working more? Like I should be grinding harder and hustling. It's like, no. You should just do the things that you want your life to be. And then like, that's cool. Do that. However, I came across new information that made me much more aware of while I'm over here having this super chill life, not moving faster, thus not making more money and not having this massive pool of wealth, other people that are very important to me in my life are having a more difficult time with different things. And I happen to be interested in making my family's life easier or having the potential to do that at least. And I can't do that yet. And so it's like, oh, snap. Well, I guess I better do more work, just put more hours in every week because the thing will move faster if I just put more effort into it. And so third party outside motivator came in and said, hey, you now have this new pain, solve the pain. And so it's okay. Like if you're in a place in your life where you've removed all of the pains because you've made money and then you've used the money to solve those pains, that's cool. You should enjoy that. But like at some point, something is probably going to change. And life happens to be really good at bringing like catastrophic events because life's cool like that. It likes to challenge us. And so, you might kick it back into gear later. You never know, just to kind of comes in phases. But it's okay to be in a high action phase. It's okay to be in a low action phase. Just, get your goals accomplished. That's the most important part. Hopefully my brother's still watching because I have a little note in here about cryptocurrency culture versus business culture. Oh boy. So I wrote this down because it's something that I've observed, and it could just be a biased opinion. It looks like Will is in the chat indeed. That's probably a biased opinion because the point I'm about to say makes me look like the good person. It makes me look like the person who's doing the right thing. And so, of course, it's going to be phrased that way. But the thing I've noticed about a lot of people in the cryptocurrency world is they are waiting for someone to save them. And I don't like waiting for someone to save me. And I will fully admit that, like, I do not think the cryptocurrency world is a bad idea. If I'm being totally honest, I would still maintain a bag. I still believe that it's a valuable thing that exists, that like people don't value it now and they will value it more later. But I think that I have been able to make more improvement in my own life by just doing a buttload of work and building something that solves a problem that makes money. And I think there's no get rich quick like thing. People get rich quick all the time because of lotteries and gambling and crypto and all that stuff. And it can work. But I happen to be someone who likes to put the actions within my own realm. I want to be the one who's able to like cause the thing, cause the growth. Because frankly, like everything else is outside, like everything's out of my control anyway, sort of, kind of, because like marketplaces can do crazy things. But I want to be able to create as much control in my life as possible. And so, what was the lesson in here? I just noticed that the general lesson is like people who blame things outside themselves for things going poorly versus people who like don't and just try to fix the things themselves and make their own small world better. It's like, yeah, there may be lots of people pulling the strings who, have hair and small hats and things, but like, we don't know. And so the reality is that like we can't control what they're doing. They may be able to control lots of stuff that they're doing, but like I don't particularly enjoy giving them power beyond like, well, yeah, they're going to do what they're going to do. And it's like I'm going to use all the tools I have in my own sphere of influence to form a bubble around myself and create my life to be what I want it to be. And so you guys should do the thing that I'm doing because what I'm doing is the best thing. Obviously, because I'm me. Just kidding. You should do what you want, but I would recommend your life is probably going to be better if you take more actions, produce more cool stuff, give value to the world, and don't don't let other things take your power away. Don't let them take your power away. That's my takeaway. And also, if you haven't bought Hex, now is a great time to be buying. If you're not hex.com, great place to go buy a fantastic cryptocurrency that is currently highly undervalued, in my personal opinion. So yeah, do that. Because then you can pump my bags. So I was talking earlier about like trust and leading from the front and inspiring your employees with your like strong vision and things. And a great way to not inspire trust is to be the person who manipulates the system and like intentionally breaks the rules of the system when the system is designed to like make everyone's lives better on average. It'd be like, it'd be like the person who is flying down the highway that's busy at like 150 miles an hour in a big fast car, like making everybody's like he could make a mistake, like he could blow a tire. He's essentially adding risk to other people that are already on the road that have all kind of agreed via many ways that like this is kind of the speed limit. We're all going to kind of live in this world. And like, so like I was literally driving back from Spider Mountain and I was just cruising down the highway and somebody was like speeding up really close to me. And then like, essentially it looked like they were about to pit maneuver me, but they were just not paying attention, but they got really close to the tail of my van. And so it's like, well, I've accepted a certain level of risk by being on the road. I would approach that level of risk differently if I knew that there were going to be a lot of people on the road that were going to take even more risk. Cause it's like, I don't love that. So, I'm not saying always follow the rules. I'm not saying always trust the big man. But I am saying like the example that I'm thinking of was I was talking with a business guy and he was telling me some super cool strategy he has for how he's saving all this money on taxes and effectively like falsely reporting stuff to the IRS, which like it's a gray area. I would prefer to play by the rules the IRS has and like use their system as it's intended. If you are going to get, let's say, like the way you should not get around the IRS stuff is by doing things that if you got audited and they looked really closely, you would owe a bunch of taxes in 10 years from now. That's not the way you should play the game. The way you should play the game is I did every single thing exactly by your rules and I still saved a whole bunch of money. That's the way you should do it. And what it makes you think is like, yeah, the reality is that there's plenty of people who can just not report their taxes, not report income, do cash transactions, all this other stuff, right? And again, I'm not saying don't do that. Like, I'm just saying that if you want to inspire the people whose lives are, you're a business owner and you have employees and you want to inspire them to know that their business owner is taking full responsibility of running the cleanest, most stable, strong business that they can rely on working for and having reliable income for a long time, then playing by the rules is the way to inspire those people. The conversation I was having with the particular businessman I was speaking with was more about like all this sneaky stuff he was doing. It's like, oh yeah, well, when I get audited 5 years from now, like they're going to catch it and I'm going to pay some fee. And of course he's still going to be up money because he had all the money sooner and all these other reasons. But the gut feeling that I got was like, oh, cool. You're the kind of person who will basically abuse the system until it doesn't work. And then something will go wrong. And then it will like threaten the system. It's like, that's fine. I'm just less inclined to do business with you now. Cause like, I just know the kind of way you like to operate. Cool. It's like, respect, do your thing. But if you're interested in inspiring other people, then you ought to be aware of essentially like being responsible, essentially. Like the more responsible you are, it's kind of like political. It's like the people, like the pastor of the church needs to have a good wife and some nice children, and he doesn't want to have sex with his secretary and all of that cool good stuff. It's like, yeah, that's all great, and like you need to maintain that. There's a balance there, but yeah. So I think for at least my business, and I would make the recommendation for most people's businesses, or executions of the cool things they're trying to do, whether it's a business or not. If you are trying to inspire as a leader and partake in the system that everybody is in, and you're an abuser of the system, you're not inspiring other people to want to be part of the system. So that's my takeaway, which is not a long-term strategy. And earlier I talked about long-term strategy better than short-term strategy if you're interested in the long term. If you're planning on dying tomorrow, then like, cool, just do you, because it doesn't really matter. But I don't plan on dying tomorrow. So let's go with the long-term strategy. There was a lesson in hiring some employees. Like, you should be aware that both if you're running a business or if you're buying a product or like literally anywhere in life, you should be aware that like businesses charge different rates for different things because they're all built differently, and the price is built out of so many different like mechanisms that you can't possibly compare two things. As an example, I'm in a business right now. I charge a certain price per square foot for a product, and that price accounts for like the stuff that I'm planning to do 5 to 10 years from now, so that I can provide the exact same level of awesome service 5 to 10 years from now. There are businesses that are like, and they're all in different stages, right? So let's say someone started drafting houses and they don't really know what they're doing, but they like kind of figured out that they're kind of good at it. And they don't know much about like business operation in general, or that like advertising costs money, losing customers costs money, hiring people costs money, firing people costs money, attracting people to hire and fire costs money. Like all of the stuff that's baked into this particular solution costs money. And so it's good to be aware of that when you're buying products. And lots of people buy products. Everybody buys products. So like there is a, like there's a price to be paid for getting the good thing. I'm going to butcher it. I'm not even going to try to say it. There's a Japanese quote that's something like, iki tiki ritiki maniki or something like that. Right. And, that sounded more like Hawaiian than Japanese. Not that I speak Hawaiian either. But the idea is that you should basically always be willing to pay full price. That's the takeaway. Ricky Tikki Tavi. Yeah, that's the thing I thought of as soon as I said it. Thanks, Will. Ricky Tikki Tavi. That's a good book, I think. It was a good book when I was a kid. I don't know what lessons are in the book with the filter of being an adult, but he also made a comment. All opinions are biased. You're right. I shouldn't need that disclaimer because everybody who's watching this show is intelligent and they understand that my opinion will be biased based on my own goals. So, it's a movie. Maybe it wasn't a book. Thanks. Good to know. 10 out of 10. Yeah. Great cinematography. I think it's about a mongoose and a cobra and a boy or something. There was like violence involved. It's good, good family film. Anyway, so things that cost money as a business, talent funnels. Now, this isn't true for some kinds of businesses. Like if you're a business, you're just throwing money at hiring people, get them in, they do a good job for a little bit of time. They realize your culture, they realize your culture sucks and they want to leave, go somewhere else. That like kind of costs money, but it doesn't cost nearly the same amount of money that like building a brand and a culture and a talent funnel does. So like if I'm going to have somebody come work at Rapid Designs, I want to be nurturing their mind for a long time before they come work here, because I need the best. I need the best of the best. And the only way to get the best of the best is to have a lot of options for a long period of time and have people like so into the thing you are solving that they make your company better than what it already is. It's about a mongoose. A mongoose saves a boy from evil cobras. Ah, very good. Very good. Yes. If we know anything about the world, it's that there is good and there is evil. And that's very clear. There's only good and evil. And good people are good and evil people are evil. And they should be bad. They should go to the bad place. Actually, I'm reading a book right now. The Coddling of the American Mind. It's a combination between two authors that are both good. Jonathan Haidt's one of them. But it's just talking about like how crappily all the colleges raise people to like not have any idea how to like be tough, have any kind of grit. Grit is not a thing they teach in college. Black and White Baby. Is that in reference to the Ricky Tikki Tavi? I'm not sure. Moving on. Staying focused here. So yeah, things cost money. Having employees is complicated because like you are solving a problem, but you also have to solve the problem of their lifestyle fitting into your problem solving. So like my lifestyle is a certain thing. I want a certain kind of way to work. And if I want someone to work for me for 20 years, then my business needs to be able to accommodate 20 years worth of lifestyle changes, both in income or logistics of the business. You know, do you work remote? Can you work from home? Do you have to work in a certain location at a certain time? And there's, because the internet and technology is what it is nowadays, you can do really, really cool things. And just have like create great options for people, which allows you to give them better lifestyle and less money. Like how cool would it be if there was a business that was like, hey, you know, you're full-time with us, but you're full-time at 20 hours a week. You know, you're going to make 60K or 80K or whatever you need for your lifestyle, but we only want you to work 20 hours a week because we want those extra 20 hours of your life. We want you to reinvest those hours back into yourself. We want you to have the clean mind, whatever business decisions you can make, but you know, you have to be willing to like compromise for people's lifestyles. Anyway. Oh, let's see. You cannot choose the best without having options. Yeah, you can't choose the best without having options. If you're just choosing what's in front of you, then you're not choosing the best. You're just choosing what's in front of you, which is not a choice. You're just going with what's in front of you, which is fine. But like from like this could be a dating, this could be business, this could be customers, this could be, you know, I need to buy a sticker for my van and I go and I Googled like van sticker and I just clicked on the first thing. It's like, well, I might have not chosen the best thing because I didn't take the time to figure out what the options were. Now that's a good lesson to learn, is not being too expedient. Unless time is the thing you want to save, and then just fucking go for it. I don't care. The classic, you can do anything, but you can't do everything if you want to be good. You can probably get through your life and do everything poorly. But there's only so many hours we all have. And man, it just takes so much time to get good and great at something that you can only get so many things done. So we're going to move this towards some like goals stuff. Things that I recommend doing. Do high leverage things because you're going to get more for less. And that just means you're able to make your life better with less effort. And if you want to put in more effort to make your life kind of better, like that's fine. Sometimes effort is good. I know a wise man who prefers to get stronger by picking up logs and dragging them around or swinging a sword, because it's like, you know, what happens if someone needs to attack you one day and you have a sword and they are attacking you and you need your sword. At least you'll be strong and good at swinging your sword, right? Um, so like high leverage is not necessarily always the thing you should go for. You should always go for the thing that helps you accomplish your goals in the way you want them to be accomplished. But high leverage does get you more stuff for less. Now, I'm going to make a slight caveat to that. I think it doesn't hurt to do everything high leverage. I like to do that, but mostly probably because I'm lazy. But like, if you're creating a long-term plan for yourself, I would recommend there's one thing you have that's like, this is how I make money. And that thing needs to be the thing you've been doing for the longest time, that you know the most about, that you know the most people in that industry. You are like networked people like you, just like you have the most leverage in that space. So that's going to be your best chance to make the most money the fastest. And that should only be one thing. And you can do other things, have other facets of your life, of course, but use the one money-making mechanisms to fuel the rest of the mechanisms. Because if you try making money doing different things, then you're just going to be less good at it. And the way to make the most money is to be the best. So that's what I would argue there. Let's see. Did I finish it up? Oh yeah. There's also like, think about terms of timeline, right? If you're making your life plan for yourself and you're like, man, what are all the things that I could be doing with my life that I don't get to do yet because I can't afford to? You could like, I'm having a hard time coming up with an example, but I'll just use my example. Let's say I want to do, generally less is better. The less you do, the better you can do with all those things and the more leverage you get. So for me, let's say I want to have the best drafting firm in the US. I want to be the fastest downhill mountain biker in Texas. And I want to be able to provide cool access to the sport of downhill mountain biking from a place like College Station, where I live, where it's flat. People wouldn't have access to that. Downhill mountain biking, you'd have to travel for it. It can be expensive. Bikes are expensive. I want to have a podcast following of wonderful people that I want to have in my life, and a large social network to help people solve problems and do cool stuff. So like if those are some high level main things, I don't have to work on all of them at once. I could work on all of them at once. That's a function of how much time do I want to spend each day solving each of those problems. But like, it's okay to have a phase in your life. It's like, well, I have no money. Therefore, the problem I need to solve first is get lots of money. Therefore, I should spend almost all my time fixing the thing that is get that money with leverage. Like the next thing would be, well, okay, now that I have the money thing mostly solved, I can catch up one of the other categories. I would argue the thing you can do the entire time is your health and your fitness. Because like you can do 5 push-ups a day. Everybody can do 5 push-ups a day. Like that's better than doing 0 push-ups for 0 days. So like, you know, fit your health in there. But like in terms of most of the other effort, I think there can certainly be phases of life. And once the cool thing is if you're kind of starting from 0, which sometimes people do, then like that's where it's important to put the time into where it has the biggest impact. So if you figure out your money, get that really well fixed while kind of getting your health taken care of, then you can, for myself, let's say, okay, well now I have money and time. I'm going to go get really good and do a whole bunch of laps, get a bunch of skills built up with this sport, downhill mountain biking. Which is a little bit trickier because like if I do a high quantity, I also risk injury, which does not make me better. In fact, it makes me worse for a period of time while I'm injured. But something to be said for that. But and social circles, like people want friends. Oftentimes high performing people go a long time without making big social circles. I thought a little bit about the kinds of friends that I made in college. Didn't make very many. I wasn't going to all the parties. I wasn't doing lots of the cool stuff. I was studying and I was going really ham into gymnastics, which made me catch up. Cool. Like I got to catch up and do really cool stuff in gymnastics. And that was my social circle. But like, let's say you're somebody who is a high performer and you do that grind for a long period of time. Well, now you've got all the money, you've got good health, and you don't know how to make a social circle. Join Men of Action, learn how to make a social circle. And that's what I did anyway. And it works pretty decent. You could also just say hi to people. My brother is an excellent example of a man who is good at saying hi to people. And it's not complicated. Not many people do it nowadays just because culturally people are in their phones and whatnot. But like if you're out in public and you come across somebody and just like, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? You know, speak to people, make human beings, make connections, right? You probably have some shared interests. So there he is, Will, saying aloha to all of the wonderful people watching right now. So yes, lots of things to be learned from Mr. Will. You got to give him that follow on Instagram. So yeah, that was in the social circle. So yeah, making friends, doing cool stuff, high leverage, all that stuff. The mechanism I like to use is relatively high leverage for making friends, in that like I will go to a place where there's lots of people, and you might have seen this on my Instagram, with a microphone and a camera and a light, and just like start making content, man on the street interviews, whatever. Like it's a great way to meet a lot of people really quickly, give them the thing that's fun and interesting to do, and then you post it, and then it's interesting for more people. And it's kind of like, it just kind of stacks on itself. Also, if you want a high leverage way of building your social circle and you don't have Instagram, then get Instagram and fix that. Cause like you can stack your social circle versus like, oh, I go and I met a person and then I met another person. And it's like, well, they've all forgotten who I am now. And like, honestly, if you're not front of mind, you don't exist. And so if you want to be front of mind to more people and have a more power, more existence, more influence, then ought to know more people and get them to follow you and give them cool stuff. Be valuable. So that. Oh, that pretty much takes care of those notes right there. A fascinating thought about the elephant. We were talking about the elephant earlier, the driver of the elephant, and there's the actual elephant. And if you want to really learn how to change your life, change your personality, you have to convince the elephant over and over to have different habits and make different decisions. And the funny thing about the elephant is that the elephant is mostly only concerned with now because it's an elephant, right? If you think about your dog or your cat is not planning for tomorrow. Your cat is like, oh, I have an itch, I'm going to scratch it. The cat's like, oh, I'm thirsty, I'm going to go drink. Oh, I'm tired, I'm going to take a nap. Like that's what the cat's thinking. It's running on instinct. It's like, oh, problem solve. And so in order for you to interact well with your elephant in your brain, you need to figure out how to train your elephant to either associate, oh, future problem coming my way 5 years from now. If I don't fix this, better fix this. Because you only ever have today. And so the elephant's going to be mostly concerned with solving its problems for today. So like, eat, drink, sleep, reproduce, all of like the basic things, right? So finding a way to associate good habits with good long-term plan so that elephant is even more better off 5 years from now. That's a good idea. Worth doing. Last comment here I think I want to add is, remember, your life can turn upside down at any moment, and that's okay because you're learning how to be somebody who can have an awesome life no matter what. All of the skills and things that like are baked into this mindset that I've been discussing are part of having a mindset that is resilient to whatever life will throw at you. And life will invariably throw bad things at you because that's what it does. And all humans are bad and bad people do bad things. Anyway, but when you work on all of these skills, you train your brain to be like, oh, my arm got chopped off. What good news. Now I weigh less. Like being able to reframe your life to make the best out of your life is probably like the best set of skills to have. Mostly because like, let's say your arm does get chopped off. People will feel bad for you a little bit maybe or something. But at the end of the day, like if you're still alive, you might as well be alive and have a good life. And like being sad that you got your arm chopped off is not a good mental state to be in. Yeah, exactly. Good comment from Will. Now I can finally work on being left-handed. Will is a master at positive reframing. I have learned lots from his ability to reframe things positively. So I recommend all of you do that. Anytime you think something bad's happening to you, it's like, oh, this is an opportunity to learn something. Keep that, it kind of keeps that ego in check too. It's like your ego starts to think that you have everything figured out. And then bad things happen. And it's like, oh, now I'm mad because I don't have everything figured out. It's like, no. You had lots of good things figured out. And now you're about to learn one more thing that you didn't think you didn't know or whatever, something like that. So anyway, those are my notes. Those are my thoughts. I have appreciated all of you wonderful people for taking part in the stream here and joining me in the chat and having a good time. I make no guarantees that I'm going to continue doing this, but I had a good time, and I hope you guys had a good time, and I might do it again. So thanks for coming on, and let's listen to some awesome music from the Highway 6 band on the way out here. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Here comes the music.
Same set list every day. Saturday